guys, it's Horsey Steph, and today we are continuing on my Horse Trainer Reacts to Horse Movies series with a brand new movie. Today I figured we would go ahead and watch Misty together. It is a 1961 film, for those of you who are not familiar with it. I don't believe I've ever actually seen it in its entirety, but I've definitely seen parts of it. I'm familiar with the basic plot line, so I'm very excited to kind of watch this movie with you and really see what the movie is like, because I think I'm much more familiar with the books than the actual movie. So it should be super exciting. If you guys could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos, that would help me out a ton. And let's go ahead and jump on in and watch this movie together. I'm so excited. I love starting brand new movies with you. It's always so much fun. Oh my goodness, from back when color wasn't like taken for granted on movies. That was so funny to me because I mean, ever since I've been alive, you know, color has always just been a thing. I forget how old this movie truly is.
Where are you going? To explore. I think we ought to wait on the beach, like Grandpa told us to.
We got plenty of time before he comes back.
The good kid and the bad kid. So clearly the boy is the one that's a little more adventurous and is going to get them in trouble. The girl really wants to follow directions and be kind of a goody two-shoes. Although they're really not going far, so I don't see too much wrong with that.
Oh, look!
And sure enough, there are the ponies. And Assateague Island is really famous for all of its wild ponies still to this day. I'm sure this was actually filmed on Assateague because I think it would be very hard to replicate that anywhere else. And I think we do a lot more replicating to film than they used to back when this film was made. The ponies are wild, but also pretty used to people because it is quite a tourist attraction. Everyone wants to see the horses, so they're used to kind of the hustle bustle of people, even if nobody lives on the island with them. I'm curious what they did to make these horses make noise. Just because, you know, whinnying is not a very common thing, especially in wild horses. I would think you'd see that a lot less. But it is possible that kind of flaxen chestnut that they had whinny is actually a tame horse that they have, you know, trained for this movie. Because I think that's the horse that plays Misty, so it's gonna kind of stay throughout the whole movie. So that could be, you know, maybe a former Assateague pony that's been trained, and they just have it in this beach scene, but it isn't truly a wild pony like the others. Those two are very friendly together. I wonder how much these horses actually run on their own. I would think they wouldn't do a whole lot of running. I think they would mostly, you know, walk around, wander places, just because this is their home environment and there are not a lot of threats. So why would they be taking off running across the beach pretty frequently? Or really ever, honestly.
Grandpa said I could ride a pony penny day with him this summer. Our department wouldn't take less than $100 for him.
Alright, so it sounds like they might be able to get a pony if they can get up the money to buy the pony themselves. Which is fair. I mean, kids don't deserve to be handed things, so it's very fair that they would have to work for the pony and save up the money to buy a pony. $100 seems very cheap to me, but back then I think $100 was quite a bit of money, so hopefully they can save up that money. I'm curious what they're going to do to earn that money to buy this pony, though. This must be their grandfather.
Hey, where'd you hear about the Phantom?
Dad talked about it.
He told us all about her.
I never would have thought the Phantom was a mare. I had always just assumed it was a stallion. It's cool that somebody is so interested in a particular mare, because I feel like there is so much bias towards having stallions all the time, and stallions are so impressive and la-di-da. And mares are really great too and deserve just as much respect and admiration as stallions do.
Your daddy only saw her once when she was a yearling. She was the first wild pony he ever really set his mind to have.
Wow, he only saw her once as a yearling, and he was that obsessed with her that he remembered her years later by the time he had kids. That's crazy. It surprises me that she would be so impressive to him. He'd be like, I want that pony, even after only seeing her once as a yearling. She would have had to been pretty spectacular. And I mean, I don't want to offend people, but I feel like most of the Assateague ponies are fairly similar. To me, of the ones I've seen, none of them really stand out. Some of them have really cool colors and whatnot, but I'm not seeing a lot of like differences conformation wise or anything. And this pony is a plain flaxen chestnut, so nothing super exciting, honestly.
Nope. She always outruns, you know?
And I guess that they have never been able to round up this pony, so that's why the dad, as much as he was obsessed with her, could never actually get her. Because they don't round up every single pony on Assateague, I guess. I actually thought they did, but they clearly don't. They only run up some of them, and I guess this particular pony has never been in the mix of ponies rounded up.
The whole ship opened up like you stepped on strawberry box. The old horses was finally free of the hole. Found themselves swimming.
I don't know if this is actually true, although I see no reason to believe it wouldn't be true. It seems kind of impressive to me that horses would survive a shipwreck and be able to swim to shore and survive on a new island. But I mean, we know that horses didn't come to the Americas on their own. We know they were brought over on ships, so it does seem quite plausible that the Assateague ponies are descended from this shipwreck, but very cool, and definitely horses with a big survival spirit if that's the case. Because it's not easy to, you know, be in a shipwreck and land in the ocean and just swim for your lives until you find shore. I'm sure not all of them survived, but clearly enough survived that they could have a whole herd, which is very impressive and very cool.
The sweetness, the rain-washed air, made them forget the unhappy days and nights they spent pent up.
Well, I'm sure, given that there is grass for them to eat and whatnot, they weren't mourning a ship and they just got to surviving. Because horses are highly adaptable, and when they're placed in situations that are really tough, they just figure out how to persevere and survive. So, get in a shipwreck, find land, find food, find water, and if they have those things, then they will at least survive. Maybe not thrive, but at least survive.
The wild ones ain't even worth the gentlemen. Only the youngsters.
Alright, so they don't mess with the older ones because it's too hard to gentle them. They only deal with the young ones. That makes sense in terms of like keeping the population alive too. And also it seems kind of unfair to me to round up, you know, adult wild horses that have lived their whole lives in the wild and then force them to live in our civilization. I think that's a very rough thing to do to a horse. Obviously, we do that to Mustangs all the time, though. So, you know, I've worked with quite a few adult Mustangs. They're really not that hard. I don't think that having them as a baby is necessarily any easier. Honestly, you just have baby brain plus the wild versus the wild and an adult brain where you can, you know, just make a little more progress faster, in my opinion. But obviously, an adult wild horse is not going to put up with abuse and manhandling. So if that's your tactic to training a horse, yeah, the young ones are going to be much better for you just because you can manhandle them a lot easier. They're not going to know enough to fight it as easily and as well.
How'd pony fitting day start?
It's one of the oldest roundups in America.
That's very cool that it's one of the oldest roundups in America.
Do they only sell the foals?
Only the foals. And some of the yearlings.
Alright, yeah, so that just confirms what we already heard from him, that they only sell the foals, sometimes the yearlings. They leave the older horses alone, send them back out to Assateague to live the rest of their life and continue to produce more foals, which they'll later sell. And I think that's a fine system, actually probably one of the better managed wild horse populations in the grand scheme of things. I think our Mustangs are generally pretty poorly managed. And, you know, we round up like the best of the best, and then we're left with, you know, inferior Mustangs out on the range, and we're not allowing nature to breed something that's really fantastic anymore. So taking only the babies helps eliminate that problem. It's a little more random who you end up selling versus who you're returning to the wild. And also, you're not taking lines out completely.
Supposing somebody had the money and they...
Why'd you shush your sister?
We kind of planned on...
You kind of planned on what?
They want to buy the Phantom. They don't want to tell their grandfather that. And frankly, if they only sell foals and yearlings, they're not going to sell her because she's about 3 at this point. Which is interesting. I would have thought that the dad had seen her when he was a kid. I thought she was much older now. But I guess this was more recent that the dad had taken a liking to this pony. Weird. I have my timeline all off. I don't really know what's going on yet.
Don't they ever let girls ride in the roundup?
You'll have plenty to do helping prepare the food.
That's really too bad that they don't let the girls ride in the roundup. I'm not super surprised given the time period. Obviously, by this point, I'm sure girls ride in the roundup all the time. But this movie was made in 1961, so women's rights were still quite a bit behind where they are now. But it's really too bad for this girl because she seems just as enthused about the ponies as her brother is and should have that same equal opportunity, honestly.
Bet the Phantom wouldn't shy away from another girl.
I don't think that would make any difference for the Phantom.
Fire department won't even sell her.
Yeah, I think it's really likely, even if they manage to round up the Phantom, that she wouldn't be for sale because she is over that yearling age, which is the oldest they sell these wild horses. So I don't think it matters who you are, why you want a specific pony. They're not going to sell anything older. The best bet they have is maybe she has a foal at her side that they could potentially buy and have her lines, but not actually her.
We're gonna have her, Maureen.
How will we get the money?
I don't know yet.
I'm confused as to how they're going to get the money, get the pony rounded up in the first place if she's escaped roundup all this time, and convince the fire department to sell the pony given their rule of only selling yearlings and foals. So I don't think this is a very realistic plan. I really don't understand how they think they're going to buy this pony. It's not even for sale. That hasn't even ever been rounded up. Seems kind of crazy, but they're kids and, you know, kids are kind of like that. They want something. They're going to try to figure out a way to make it happen, even if it kind of defies logic and seems impossible and improbable that it would happen. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this first segment of Misty. I think it's going to be a really good movie. We just kind of got introduced to it, learned a little history about Assateague and the ponies, and saw that these kids really want a specific pony, of course named Phantom, from the roundup. So we will see in the next segment how that kind of progresses and how they prepare to be ready to buy that pony when the auction comes up, and also how they're going to convince the fire department to sell the pony that, you know, is too old to be for sale. I hope you guys enjoyed this movie and enjoyed this segment of Horse Trainer Reacts to Horse Movies. Remember that new segments come out every Thursday and Saturday at 5 p.m. So be sure to tune in, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.